You didn't record?
I don't no, we didn't, did we?
I mean, you're supposed to record everything. And remember, I liked this quote. I don't know if it's actually from this person, but I will say if you don't tell your story, someone else will. And that is ultimately what we're trying to do. We are trying to tell our own story in our own way so that we can be remembered in the best possible light. So let's see. How should we start?
At the beginning.
Okay. So you start then.
So essentially, um, we want to build a family legacy, right? With the brand of Richards. So always I like to start off with why. Why is that an important thing for either of us? Why is it important? So, maybe you can share with why, um, how did this idea even come up? Why are we even having this conversation?
Okay. So let's start from when, well, I'll start with mom because I feel like mom always is like always the issue. So I have been wanting to purchase a property in Jamaica for years. It's been on my like bucket list for years. Um, and mom, I think after your last trip to Jamaica, I think you had mentioned to mom that you were looking for a business idea so you could basically come up with an excuse to travel down there more often, which is basically what I wanted to do. So because I was already planning to do this, I said, okay, it's easier with two than with one. Why don't we, since we have the same goal, why don't we do it together? So the plan was for us to start with short-term rentals to buy a property. But that takes a lot of money, especially since we're not residents down there. We don't have credit down there. So we need to have capital to purchase a home. While I think we each have our own separate financial goals, coming together to build capital is probably the easiest way to get there. And as we do that, or the ways to do that, we thought that one, it would be good to document our journey. Uh, Two, I thought that having weekly meetings would keep us both on track. And I think that's a good way of doing it. And three, I just think our family is really, really interesting, really cool. I think we're as us as individuals are have our own inspiring stories and our own ways of inspiring other people that people may actually be interested in seeing what we are going to do now and in the future.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you're saying because the journey started off with that, and then as you take a 50,000 foot view, you look at it further up, it kind of morphed into this idea of legacy,
Mhm.
which is unique in itself because it's always something that's been on my mind, right? Um, Leaving a legacy, and I think the things and the topics that we'll talk about will kind of mesh, so it kind of works together, right? Now, before we jump into the legacy building, um, who is Camille? Who's obviously you're my sister, but other than that, who is Camille Richards?
So, so as you say, let's start from the beginning. So I am Camille. I am Camille Ravon Richards. I currently live in the US, but I was born in Canada to two Jamaican immigrants that left Jamaica to build a life in Canada. And a part of that life, they were able to send me to college and to med school. I went to med school in the US. And I graduated and decided to stay here. I am a general surgeon. I am a traveler. I am a creative. I like to create not only with my hands, but with different types of art pieces, etc. And I am a family person. For on top of everything that I do, I have family number one. And that is seen by me just moving to where I am currently because I left my previous job. And one of the biggest reasons was that I was so far from family, especially during the pandemic. Those are kind of the big things of who I am and what I do.
Okay. And other than me being your brother, I'm also a family man. I was born in the Cayman Islands. My both parents were Jamaican, so Camille and I share the same father. So I have I consider myself lucky because I have my mother and I have my stepmother. I have my dad and I have my stepdad, which is now passed away. But so I grew up kind of back and forth between the Cayman Islands and Canada, but now here reside in Canada and studied mechanical engineering, started working as an engineer with different companies, and later on wanted to cut my teeth on entrepreneurship and got into the financial services industry. And here I am, married with two amazing kids, and it's a blessing. So I agree with you. And to piggyback on what we were talking before, uh, when before I had kids, legacy wasn't something that was, I would say, really on the forefront. Where it really came on the forefront for me was when I had kids. And it's like I stopped thinking about me and, my wife only. We started thinking about them, like everything, filters through their eyes, if you will. And that's when legacy, or this term legacy, became big for me. When did it become big for you? Can you remember when it kind of became a thing for you when you wanted to create a legacy?
So the, there isn't like a particular time. I can't say, oh, it happened this way. But I'll say that I work in a field where, unfortunately, death and dying is a very common outcome of
Hmm.
what I do. So I often see people who are leaving families who aren't very close to their families. And of course, that makes me reflect on my family, my parents, as they are close to age to many of the people that I treat. And I think, how am I going to protect and basically mold what they have given me into something that, even if I don't have kids, can be pushed down to the future and that can say, this is a part of the Richards legacy and a part of what they have left for the world. And that's where it came for me. I mean, it just
Hmm.
came from bloomed out of everyday interactions with different people and thinking and reflecting on how that would look in my life.
No, that's interesting you say that, because sometimes people think, okay, you need to have kids present to start thinking about that, which was my case, right? But I look at your perspective, and even before kids, you're thinking about that, which is pretty unique. And I think it's important for people to understand thinking about the future, because sometimes it takes for someone like me, an event like that to change my perspective. So I find that very powerful. That's pretty cool. So we have this idea. We want to build a legacy. So here's the million or billion-dollar question. How do we do it? How do we do it? Where do we start?
So I think you start by asking, well, what is a legacy and what does a legacy actually mean to individual, as in each of us, and to the world?
I will I will say it like this. Have you seen those movies, those really, really old? movies where they have like a family member above the fireplace? Have you, and everyone
Like a
points to
painting.
that. Sorry.
You mean a painting.
Yeah, they put like the painting or the portrait, let's say of like, grandpa, you know, from 200 years ago or whatever it is, and everyone keeps pointing to this grandpa, he did so much, he did this, he did that. And every time something major happens, they always reflect back and they feel gratitude for this portrait of this grandpa, for example, right? And you look back and you say, well, why is that? Um, Maybe this grandpa left something behind. Maybe he left his legacy. And by the way, money is not the only legacy, right? But maybe his legacy was he left $100 million behind, and the family changed for generations and generations and generations to come. And every new generation is reminded of this grandpa, right? And most generations are forgotten after about, I would say, the third generation. Usually that one is forgotten, right? And for me, the legacy would be, I want to not be forgotten after the third generation. I want to make such an impact that after the third generation, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth generation, I'm still making an impact. I was meeting with someone, and it's interesting, everything is happening around this time. I was meeting with this gentleman, and his legacy strategy, because now I'm asking, right? His legacy strategy is he has built a legacy that will literally last for the next 12 generations. And he has this unique strategy that he did. And I thought about that. I'm like, wow, 12 generations. He's thinking 12 generations out. And it's crazy to have that kind of foresight or that kind of vision, I'll say. And I never even thought, that you could think that far out. So for me, I want to be that painting, right? I would love to be that painting on the wall for generations and generations to come. Not only through money, yes, that would be one aspect of it, but I think there's other things too that can be passed down, like values, lessons, and things like that that could be passed down. So for me, that's what a legacy would be. It would be so that um, I'm not forgotten.
Yeah. I like that. I like the idea of not being forgotten. Um, I guess I think about it a little bit more bigger than myself, in that I would like for this family to continue on. And even when I say this family, I don't mean, me, you, and mom and dad. I mean our like whole expansive family, in that we are so close, but and we've already come so far, but to continue on, like I already see a little bit of that separation as people have kids and move further away. And I mean, who am I to talk? I'm probably the furthest away, but move further away to build their lives. But I feel like when you build that foundation, and you make people feel like there is something to continue to come back to, that will continue to live on into those 12th generations, in that the Richards family is such a strong foundation. And yes, it can be money, it can be values, like you said. And legacy just comes from, at least the way I see it is people remember you because of how you made them feel. There's many ways to make people feel different ways, but at the end of the day, they're going to remember you by how you've made them feel and have made them move forward.
Yeah. And I think it all boils down to having the conversation, right? Because in every legacy that has ever been built, family legacy, someone or people or group of people stood up and made that decision that that would be what would happen from here on out, that they would be remembered. The last name would be remembered. So going back, right, to um, what the legacy is at the moment for the Richards, what do you, how would you define our current family legacy? What is the Richards currently remembered for?
So I would say if we look at our family collectively, like bigger picture,
Hmm. Bigger
we
picture,
come
yeah.
bigger picture, right? So we come from the small hills in Jamaica, right? Um, this area, parish called St. Anne's, an area called York Castle. And portions of our family decided that they were going to leave home and come to a very, very cold country to try to build a life. And in that transit, they met new people, they brought up their family, got married, have children, but continue to build. So if we narrow it down to our father, who is an entrepreneur in and of himself, he took lessons that he learned to build a career, and was able to have his kids and put two of his kids through pretty expensive educations, right? While at the same time building a business internationally, buying land, building a house, on a dual salary, I would say, but on salaries that are in Canada, right?
Hmm.
So they took that immigrant dream and made it into reality. Would I say that our family is rich? No, but I think we are pretty well off. We have done a lot, and I think there's so much more that we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to what a legacy is, one of the things that I would say was instilled into me, and you can probably agree from a young age, was hard work. Um, One of the things that I remember uh, growing up as a little boy is, my father always saying, "You got to work hard, work hard, work hard." But he didn't just say it. And here's the thing: I think lessons, the biggest lessons in life, are not taught. I think they're caught. And he showed it more than he actually said it, right? Because he didn't, he said it a handful of times, but because he was such a hardworking person, it spoke so loudly when he did say it because it's who he is. And one of the things that definitely I would like to be incorporated in the passing on of a legacy is hard work. Um, I watched him, like you said, uh, hustling from an ever since I can remember, back and forth, not just in Canada, but also in Jamaica and
Yeah.
anywhere that he goes, right? And in that respect, he's definitely um, I would say a person that embodies that hard work. What would you say or one of the biggest lessons that you could say you got from um, the Richards? It could be anyone, right? It could be anyone. I chose dad, but it could be anyone.
Yeah, just to actually to piggyback, I was driving home from working today and going through like everything I did this weekend, and he's like, you got that hard work from me, and I was like, no, you can take that back. I don't want it. No, I don't want it. I mean, working hard is great, but I much rather work smart. But yes, yeah, definitely a hard worker, and that is something I am amazed by because even at his age of mid 70s, he is still going, and I don't know how he does it.
Still going.
Um, so biggest lesson. Oh, I would say, or if I am going to say, I think hard work is good, but also to dream big. And I wouldn't even say that it was something that was taught or like specifically told to me, but something that was reinforced. Um, you know, being a Black woman in a majority white nation. You can imagine when a young girl comes up to anybody you and says, "Listen, I want to be a doctor. I'm going to the US to study. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z," that they give you a smile and a pat on the head if you're lucky. Um, but I have never been questioned on my dreams when it came to my parents. I have never been questioned on my aspirations. I've always been encouraged to go forth and conquer and to do whatever I wanted to do, even if that meant that their little girl was moving to some random place in the US or to several provinces down to go to college. Um, and I think that is one in of itself to encourage growth and to encourage um, dreams and to encourage aspirations instead of limiting, and then to put their money where their mouth was. It came to the point where I did not have financing to go to school, and my parents made that happen, and that's something that I will be internally grateful for, which is another reason why I want to continue to make sure that our family is a strong presence in this world and will never be watered out or forgotten because they've already put so much into me that I want to continue to put so much into them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I can agree with that wholeheartedly. Environment is a huge thing, right? When it comes to having dreams and um aspiring. And if the environment is not right, the seed is not going to prosper. And many people forget that because it's so critical that when someone of a young age has a dream and they want to carry that out, that the people around them um, don't crush it. Because honestly, some people, when they discourage dreams, I don't think they do it from a place of being angry at the person. You know what I mean? Or resentment or anything. I think they do it to try and protect the person.
Absolutely. I understand I understand it, but at the same time, there's a way to bring expectations or reality without limiting aspirations.
Yeah, 100%. But that I think that comes with awareness. Many people aren't even aware that they're talking someone out of their dreams. They're coming from their personal perspective of what they think protection is, and they do that. So in that regards, I think would you say it's lucky to have the right environment, a stroke of luck
I
to
mean,
be
it's
in that
lucky.
right?
I don't think anybody can I don't know if it can be fostered. It can be changed if you have self-awareness, but if you don't have that awareness, then I don't see how anything can change. Sorry,
Hmm.
fruit flies. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see how anything can change if it's not recognized.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. So lessons, we talked about lessons from the previous generation. Um, where do you see the family legacy?
So, okay, so a couple of things that I was as I was preparing for this week in this meeting. I was thinking about what are the building blocks of a legacy? What does it take to build a legacy? And being the scientist or scientific mind that I am, I'm like, okay, let me do some research. So I pulled up a couple of different articles and I kind of came up with a few things. And one of the things that I came up where I talked about or what was talked about a lot was personal branding or the idea behind building a brand.
Hmm.
Honestly, I don't feel like I have a brand. If I were to think about one, I don't know what that would be. I can maybe come up with ideas of how people say that they view me, but I don't know what I would say my brand was. Do you know what your brand is?
Well, I think before I answer that, just to say what to respond to what you're saying, um, it's very uncomfortable for anyone to say what their brand is.
Mhm.
I'm the first to admit it. Um, what would I like my ideal brand to? Yes, I can tell you, but I would say we already have a brand. Um, and I would say that people already sees us a certain way, right? Both
Mhm.
as a team or individually, they already have that. And that's kind of what our brand is. Um, Now, does it have to remain that way? No, we can build it into, and I think whatever we want. So to answer your question, what do I think my brand is? Um, or what I would ideally like it to be, I should say, is one of no limitations. Going back to what you were talking about with dreaming big, right?
Mhm.
It's one of no limitations. I want to foster an environment of there's no limits. You can think and grow as big as you want. And it doesn't just, I want to be clear here. It's not just about money, it's about aspirations, it's about career, it's about relationships, it's about connections, it's about everything. And I would like the brand to involve that or foster that as much as possible. I would say that would be um my 2 cents.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's great. I honestly like when I think about personal branding, I have no clue. I move throughout my day and I was thinking about this earlier. I'm like, I move throughout my day just trying to make sure that when I leave somebody in a positive light as much as possible. Can I always do it? No.
Yeah.
And again, this is because what I do on a daily basis is that I work with people. Um, and I work with people that are often in their lowest points. So that is what I try to do. I don't know if that is a brand of any sort, but it is how I try to move throughout my life. It's something that definitely still working on and thinking about. Um, and you'd mentioned this a couple of times. You said that money isn't the only way to build a brand. And I completely agree. I think that while we do have financial goals, ultimately we have a aspiration and a dream to build a empire as well as a legacy. At least
Yeah.
that's how I see it.
Same.
And I think there are many ways to do that. And I think there are so many examples out there. Some of the ways that have come up with me, financial, like we discussed, there's art people that are in the art facility that may not be financially rich or weren't financially rich when they were creating, but they have left a legacy of beauty and creation that we all can draw inspiration from. There's literature, people that take their time to write down their thoughts and their imaginations that we still read today, which I've always wanted to write a book, but I can never actually get down to doing it. And then invention and innovation. I mean, there's always the Elon Musks out there that are creating different things, and making our world a better place in some aspect or another, or moving us forward. So I don't know exactly how we're going to do everything. I know we have our aspirations in certain areas, but with more time and more people, we continue to grow and find different ways.
Yeah, exactly. And it's gonna take a team, right? I don't
Mhm.
think any of this is going to happen just by you and I by ourselves, but hopefully we can enlist a team of people that can help us achieve that, right?
Absolutely.
Um, Going back to examples, you and I were talking about this earlier, the story of Alfred
Hmm.
Nobel. I This story, right? And for the people that don't know the story, we can share the story with you. Um, Basically, and pipe in here, Camille. Don't let me tell the story all by myself. But
No, you're
basically,
fine.
Alfred Nobel, he was the guy that invented dynamite, right? And so he built that into a big, big business that he took over from his father. And they use his invention obviously for war, right? They started using it like crazy because it was easier than going out and um, fighting people with swords and long distance guns, which they didn't have at the time. It was just easier to blow people up, right? So
Yeah. Initial bombing.
yeah, and this is where that all started from. And he actually became super, super successful, super, super wealthy. He grew a crazy business out of that. But and the story has it like this. There's different versions of the story, but
Mhm.
this is the version that caught my attention, right? And feel free to correct me if I'm saying anything wrong here, or anyone comment and make the correction if you think we're saying something against the story. But basically, he was known to the people as the merchant of death. They started labeling him the merchant of death. And one day he wakes up, right? And he basically sees his obituary in the newspaper. And
So he
it was
actually is supposed to be his brother's obituary,
it was
apparently.
right.
And
His brother died,
yeah,
but
and he
he
was
reads
reading,
it,
thinking
and
he was going to read his brother's, and it was his.
it was his. Yeah, they mislabeled it. They thought he died, but it was really his brother that passed away, and he's there reading what would have been his obituary, right?
Yeah.
And it freaked him out because they said the headline was something like "The Merchant of Death is dead," right? And he didn't want to be remembered that way. And I think in that moment was when he really first for the first time sat and thought about how he wanted to be remembered, right? Going back to legacy. So that was where the Nobel Peace Prize was born. You can elaborate, Camille, on the Nobel Peace Prize. Everyone knows about
Yeah.
that, but essentially
It
that's where it was
recognizes
born.
people in all different aspects of life, science, art, social, and they recognize people that have excelled and created or done great things,
Hmm. So he
even created
started
their own
giving away.
legacy.
Yeah, his legacy was he started giving back to people. Now, when people think about Nobel, no one thinks about the dynamites. In fact, many people listening to this probably didn't even know he invented the dynamite,
Right.
right? So he shifted his legacy. And you said something really, really neat when it comes to the definition of a legacy. It's what they'll be remembered for. He shifted what he wanted to be remembered for. And by the way, a large, if not all, of that is in our hands, right?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I mean,
so
I think that's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I just
Go ahead.
wanted to say that was an inspiration for me as
Mhm.
well.
I would say like it's a good way of thinking about it too. Like at when you are planning or thinking about how you want to live your life in the now, think about how people are going to remember you when you're gone and how they're going to speak about you when you're not in the room or when you're dead. Because eventually all of us are going to go there. So what is it that you want them to remember you by the most? And we don't know when we're going to go, but you can do something today to make someone feel a way that's going to make them remember the positive things about you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You wrote in our notes about death motivates people to consider their legacy. Can you elaborate
Mhm.
on what you meant by that?
So, at the end of the day, everybody is going to die, right? And, we are two young people thinking about this now, right? And, outside of certain acts, we expect to live several and several more years. We have time to build this legacy to whatever we desire. But a lot of people, as they age, as they become sick, as they realize that they have a finite amount of time, they think about what they have left behind, or what they haven't left behind, and how people are going to remember them. And that's when, they come up with their bucket lists, or they start writing a book, or they start to try to reconnect to those lost people, because now they're thinking about what their legacy is going to be at the end of the day. And some people at that point, they can still get there. Some people, it's too late. for us, I think we are at a point where, hopefully and God willing, that we have time to build this into an amazing legacy for our future generations.
Do you think time can be the enemy as well, where sometimes we just feel like we have infinite amount of time to build it, and we just kind of never get to it? When I say we, I mean the average person, right? Never really gets around to doing it. Step
Yeah,
one.
of course. I mean, I feel like we all have a little bit of procrastination in us. I love to procrastinate. It's a daily activity for me. So, we may have thoughts or things and goals that we need to do or we want to do, but either we don't have the motivation or the discipline to make those first steps. And not everybody can do it. Some people do it and they're great at it, and some people need a little extra push.
Yeah, I think we all procrastinate.
Yeah, I mean, we all procrastinate. It's just a thing that everyone does. Um, I mean, I do it. I've done it. I still do it. I'm pretty sure I'm procrastinating about something right now. But it is what it is. We'll get through it.
As I'm here thinking, I was listening to a speaker the other day, and he was talking about when people get to that point at the close to the end of their life, right? They tend to regret not things that they did. Mostly they regret things that they didn't do, right? Omission, regrets
Right.
of omission. And this is kind of where what I'm thinking. I think, and who am I, right? But I think everyone should have um, a legacy on their mind that they want to build, and go for it, right? Don't
Mhm.
don't get to the end and say, "Oh, I wish that I had tried." It's better, I think, to have tried and it all went to hell, but at least you tried. At
Yeah.
least you tried and you say, "Okay, I did. I gave it my best. It might not have worked out, but I gave it my best. Or I gave it my best and it's better than I thought it would have been. Either way, you tried."
Yeah.
So that would be my if you're looking for some inspiration and motivation, don't don't have a regret of omission. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can never, it's like, yes, if you never try, you can never fail. But if you never try, you can also never succeed.
I
Which is
like that.
another way of thinking about it. But absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's always going to be people that regret things, and try to have as at the least regrets as possible, when it comes to doing things.
Okay.
Which is one of the reasons. Like, I'll say this as well. When I was in residency, maybe about 6 years ago now, in like 2017, 2018. One of my chief residents, so a chief resident is someone that's kind of on their final years. He had been a chief resident to me um, when I was a junior, and now I was in my fourth or fifth year. He had long gone and had been pursuing his dreams.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, he had passed away in kind of a freak accident. And,
Yeah.
you know, I say all this to say that, I say all that to say this, in that when I was in residency, I had a lot of things that I had wanted to do. And that those things would have taken a lot of time away from certain other things that I wanted to do. And it became an eye opener in that it made me prioritize the things that aren't always going to be I'm not always going to be capable of doing, which is, maybe traveling, maybe, scuba diving, spending time with my family,
Mhm.
versus the things that I can do, and I can do probably at any time. And if I don't do them, I would be okay. And a lot of that is my career. I have a very good career, but I could have done research. I could have, gone to fellowship and done all of those other things, which would have been perfectly fine. And those people that desire to do that is great. But I put that aside to spend more time within my personal life and within my life outside of work, and to make sure that that was the most fulfilled as possible, including building and doing things with family that'll allow us to become closer and leave things beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I as you were talking, it got me to think, how are we going to do this? How are we going to build this legacy? So we get on here, we brainstorm, we have ideas. This will help hold us accountable. Um, and I think step one is knowing the why, and now
Mhm.
we're gonna figure out the how, and the audience gets to join us in this journey step by step as we figure it out. We've never built one, obviously. Um, we're successful in our own rights, but I think we're about to do something that has never been done before in the entire um, Richards family. This is going to be epic, and I'm
Absolutely.
excited. I'm really excited about it.
Me too. I am excited. I've been excited all week to do this, and I think we're going to do an amazing job. And I think when people realize what we're doing, they're going to back us up. And I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be great.
And the cool thing is, it's going to be fully transparent. You're going to get to see what works, what doesn't work. You're going to get to follow us along in the journey, right? So if we are doing something and it goes horribly wrong, you'll get to see that. So and the good thing is, what we hope to bring is awareness. It's important, I think, that awareness is there for people, right? So that, uh, they don't only have to go do all the research for themselves. Whatever research we have done, we're going to lay it out. What works, you're going to see. What doesn't work, you're going to see. And most importantly, you get to follow along on that journey, right? From beginning to end. So this is day one. This is day one of the journey.
Yeah, ultimately, it's like we're inviting you into our weekly business meetings, as we try to navigate building a business. What is ultimately what this is building a family business that will hopefully last for generations. Um, and we are not business owners. I mean, Jermaine, you've done some entrepreneurial work. I have not. I am a goodness. I am a student and an educator. I do not have a business of my own. So we are learning from scratch. We are going to be reading. We're going to be discussing. We're going to be, making pros and con lists, trying and failing, and we want to document it because I think it's an important journey. It's some of these things that we're doing because not only are we trying to build a business, we are trying to build a business that is not necessarily located in North America. We are trying to do things while we are in two different countries, in two different parts of our lives. You're married with kids. I'm single. I'm living my best life out here. You're living your best life married, but in different ways. Um, and we're still taking the time to meet at this level and try to make something that is going to continue, and grow. And I'm very excited about it. Like, I don't while we have several other siblings, I don't think that I could do this with anybody else. I think that you are the perfect person. And while we may bring people in outside of this, I think to start this, we are the people to do it.
Means a lot. And yeah, we are just getting started. Pardon?
You're supposed to say you too. You're supposed to give me the compliment back, but thanks.
I was getting to it.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I
You're
was.
just saying that now that I was cutting you off. Okay, go ahead.
We
Get
can
to it.
rewind it and you can see.
No.
We're recording for a reason.
Okay, continue. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Um, yeah, it is an exciting time, and it does mean a lot coming from you to say that. Um, yeah, I really don't know if there's anyone else that we could do this with, right? Build something that is going to last for generations, And I think you and I complement each other. We bring different things to the table. So this is going to be a unique experience. Um, we do have a competitive nature, so we'll bring that, I'm sure, and we'll see where it goes. So we have the competitive, creative nature, and we'll see where it goes. I think again, there's going to be no limits, no limits. And to be quite honest with you, like you said, yeah, I've done some business in the past, but I've never done anything media wise, or I've tried to do some real estate here and there, but nothing that uh, was a giant success. So this is all learning. This is all brand new, and I'm 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 fired up.
Me too. Me also. I am a little tired. I just worked all weekend, so don't see me as a lack of being excited. I'm excited. I'm just tired.
Yeah, same here. Same here. So where do we go from here?
So, first, to anybody who has spent all this time listening to this and watching us, first, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, please, please hit subscribe. We would love for you to follow us and join us. The plan is to post every Sunday, to have a new video. Basically, our meetings are going to be every Sunday because that's the time that we both have. And we're going to continue on, have conversations, have these discussions, have topics. We're going to debate, we're going to talk. Please join us. And thank you for listening and thank you for watching. And remember, I liked this quote. I don't know if it's actually from this person, but I will say, if you don't tell your story, someone else will. And that is ultimately what we're trying to do. We are trying to tell our own story in our own way so that we can be remembered in the best possible light.
Yeah, I agree. Let's tell our story. So thank you everyone for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.